They say some places, they just don't want to be found. And some things, once found, they never let you go. We thought it was just an old school place of learning, but some lessons are carved into the very stone. And the whispers, oh, the whispers, they never stop. Don't go looking for what isn't meant to be seen, especially not the room that wasn't on the blueprint. Every town has its legends, and Northwood High was no exception. Built in the 1920s, its halls had seen generations of students, whispered secrets, and countless forgotten corners. For Alex, Ben, and Chloe, members of the school's Urban Explorers Club, these forgotten corners were their playground. Their latest obsession? The school's sprawling, labyrinthine basement, rumored to hold everything from old sports equipment to the remnants of a forgotten bomb shelter. It was during one of their late-night excursions, armed with flashlights and a healthy dose of teenage bravado, that they stumbled upon it. Not a hidden passage, not a dusty archive, but a wall. A section of brickwork that looked different, too new yet too old, out of place, like a patched-up wound on an ancient body. Ben, ever the pragmatist, tapped it. A hollow, unsettling thud echoed back. "Solid," he muttered. But Alex, with his keen eye for anomalies, noticed something. A hairline crack, a subtle discoloration. He pried at a loose brick, and with a soft crunch of ancient mortar, it gave way. A sliver of darkness, deeper than any shadow, opened before them. Chloe, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and exhilaration, aimed her flashlight into the newly revealed void. It wasn't a crawl space. It was a doorway, a heavy, rusted metal door, almost perfectly camouflaged, stood sentinel. And etched into its corroded surface, barely visible beneath decades of grime, were 3 words: Classroom 1954. The air that rushed out was cold, stale, and carried the faint scent of old paper and something else. Something metallic, like forgotten blood. Alex, with a gulp, turned the handle. It groaned, a sound like a dying beast, and slowly, reluctantly, the door swung inward. What they saw defied logic. It was a classroom, perfectly preserved, as if time itself had forgotten this single space. Desks arranged in neat rows, textbooks open on some, a blackboard covered in neat cursive. But it was the silence that truly unnerved them. A silence so absolute, so profound, it felt like a physical weight. It wasn't just the absence of sound. It was the presence of an unnatural void. A half-eaten apple, perfectly preserved, sat on a desk. A chalk drawing of a smiling sun adorned the blackboard, dated October 1954. It was a snapshot, a moment frozen in time, yet imbued with a terrifying sense of expectation. The chairs were empty, but they felt occupied, as if the students had just stepped out for a moment and would return at any second. But they wouldn't, not really, because as Alex's flashlight beam swept across the room, it caught something in the back row. A figure, small, hunched over a desk, and then another, and another. Not mannequins, not statues, but students. Their forms indistinct in the gloom, their stillness absolute. They were waiting. They were waiting for the bell, waiting for the teacher, waiting for something that had never come. Their clothes were of another era, their hair styled in forgotten fashions. But it was their stillness, their utter lack of movement, that was the most horrifying. They were perfectly preserved, yet utterly devoid of life. Or were they? Chloe, her breath catching in her throat, noticed a detail. On one desk, a textbook lay open to a page on the atomic age, and beneath it a hand, a skeletal, withered hand, its fingers curled around a pencil, poised to write. It wasn't a prop, it was real, and it was ancient. That's when the whispers started. Faint at first, like dry leaves skittering across a forgotten playground. Then louder, a cacophony of desperate, childlike voices, overlapping, pleading, crying. They weren't coming from the students. They were coming from the walls, from the very air itself. The room was a tomb, yes, but it was also a recorder. playing back the final, terrified moments of those trapped within. Alex stumbled backward, his flashlight beam dancing wildly across the petrified faces of the students. Their eyes, though vacant, seemed to follow him. Their mouths, though still, seemed to form silent screams. The air grew heavy, thick with the weight of forgotten despair. The room wasn't just a snapshot. It was a living, breathing echo of a tragedy. They didn't remember how they got out. Only the desperate scramble, the frantic gasps for air, the deafening clang of the metal door slamming shut behind them. They ran, not stopping until the cold night air filled their lungs and the distant city lights seemed like a beacon of sanity. They never spoke of the room again, not to each other, not to anyone. But sometimes, late at night, when the wind howled through the old school's eaves, Alex swore he could still hear it, a faint, almost imperceptible whisper carried on the breeze. A plea, a warning, from the room that wasn't on the blueprint, and the students, still waiting, still whispering, forever,